Okay, anyways. Oh, marathon. Put that on pause. All right. So, marathon. Uh Jake the all right. See, the runners of marathon. The run of marathon. It looks really I love the art style. And that's actually my background. Her. Hold on. That's my background, by the way. I love that photo. That screenshot, that is so dope. She looks so dope. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this look at this game. But let's see what's going on with this. It's a 20-minute video, so I'm not going to try to pause this. Jake, all right. I don't think I've ever watched this content before.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we would take a look at the runners of marathon. I feel like this is a topic that's kind of not super clear to a lot of people, but we actually do have quite a few runners. We have 5 named runners, and we've seen even more than that in the trailer even. And we also have a ton of concept art of runners that even seems to be kind of popping up with these new images that we got from the dev update. So I thought I'd make a video just kind of illustrate and explain every runner that we have confirmed and some of the ideas that Bungie might be working with behind the scenes, since the last information we got was the reveal of Thief and Stealth. So let's check it out. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a runner? A runner is like a mercenary, but instead of operating in their own mortal flesh, they exist within these super advanced clones that are called biomata. These biomata are created by Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi is a company that runs in advanced kind of body implements. So originally they would create things like super cool robotic arms. Now they're creating fully synthetic bodies that you can place your consciousness inside. Some use cases for these would be like mining sites on Mars or on battlefields. So you can conduct these operations without risking your life, and when you die, your consciousness is zapped out of the runner body and back to your physical form, assumedly, although we don't totally know exactly how the technology works.
So that explains like how you die, like when you die, how you come back.
The biomata is that there are multiple versions of it. The A, B, C, and S series are publicly known, with the S series being the most advanced. We also learn that there is a secret version, a more advanced biomata called the P series, which Sakaguchi is secretly selling to Traxxas, assumedly to run operations in Tau Ceti in their endeavors antagonistically against the UESC. This information was uncovered and obviously revealed throughout the ARG when we got these orders from Sakaguchi Genetics to Traxxas. Now we can assume that this line right here, the BMP-TB_001 through 5, is the 5 P series that Traxxas ordered. We also see within the trailer this image of a runner, not a runner, a biomata inside of its birthing pod, assumedly where it's created or stored after it's been fabricated. And we see just under the left black stripe there, across from the Traxxas logo, BMP-TB_004, indicating that this is the 4th of the 5 biomata that they received of this newly advanced series.
Oh my god.
So who are the runners that we know about? Let's start with the Elder Runners, as I'm calling them, or the runners that we saw in the original announcement trailer from last year. So the 3 runners that we have associated with Traxxas, so these are kind of the more true to form, mercenaries, pay for play, are Brill, Patch, and White Rabbit. White Rabbit is the badass one that isn't wearing a mask and snipes the UESC one in the trailer as it's running, with that awesome conclusion where it pulls out and you see this kind of battlefield that's flooded in the water there. We can assume that Brill and Patch seem to be kind of support runners. Brill features this red medkit looking thing on the side of his leg, and Patch obviously kind of has this pack and lower kind of carrier underneath it on his kind of back lumbar area. White Rabbit also notably is the only runner in the trailer who isn't wearing a mask. Originally, it was kind of speculated, and maybe there was even some leak or rumor indicating that the way the match timers would work would be oxygen. And so maybe this P series didn't need to have oxygen within the atmosphere on Tau Ceti, and thus it was more advanced. Now, we'll learn in the UESC evidence files, which were uncovered in the ARG, and kind of took clips from the trailer and put it as like drone footage from a UESC kind of like.
Hold on. When did this come out? 5 months ago. Okay, it's a 5. Okay.
Intelligence drone. That's where we got the names, and we'd also learn that these runners are associated with Traxxas, which is also something that we saw in the Traxxas chat logs, okay? Here, they're all indicated to be S series, but you see a question mark appears next to Brill's biomata classification. It is interesting because we don't necessarily know if the UESC are even aware of the P series in existence, which, given the fact that White Rabbit is not within the helmet and needing oxygen, which we don't know if it's a mechanic that's carrying on or still being worked on, that she might be the P series that we see getting kind of lipstick applied in the trailer.
They all have question marks, by the way.
Obviously, the other runner that we get from the original announcement trailer is the UESC runner. Features the amazing helmet, which would eventually come to Destiny as a mask for the Festival of the Lost, and feature the notorious blue fork on the side. Here's a few shots of it from the trailer. Obviously, he gets smoked in the end, unfortunately, and the mask is cracked. And obviously, we have that countdown timer.
Look, I'm not trying to glaze this game or anything, but like the art style, the lore, the music. Oh my fucking god, damn it. I just shit, man. Everything about this game just makes me want to beat off. Like I just don't know. Like it's just so sexy, so elegant, so everything. Like, oh man, I just pray to God they have to get the gameplay right. You know, this is like looking at a pretty ass fucking girl, like a hot ass girl, man. She is drop dead gorgeous, but she's not that smart. And when she opens her mouth, she just sounds dumb as shit. This is how I feel about this game. This game looks amazing. You know, the stuff I heard about it, the lore and everything sounds good, but once we see gameplay, that could be a different story. God, man.
That people were kind of speculating was oxygen.
Look at the weapons, bro.
He was running to extract.
Gear.
Here's some of the concept art images of the runners that we saw throughout the Vidoc. I'll have a link down below to, I believe the blog is called The Laughing Cephalopod, who did a great job of analyzing the concept art image from the Vidoc and kind of putting it into a readable format. And that's where I got all these images from. So definitely check that out if you're interested in the art of Marathon. Obviously, we see kind of the sniper team up top that obviously has the more advanced biomata, not needing the helmet. To the right of that.
Hold on. I think I might be a big fan. I think one reason, because it has like a 80s kind of style to it. And I really love the 80s style. I'm a big fan of the 80s. Even though I wasn't born in the 80s. You know, I was born in like the early 90s. I like the style they had back in the 80s. I think that's probably one reason I really like this game, the look of it. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe you do too. Let me know in the comments. But yeah.
We get this image of a full team of runners because Bungie has said that it's a max of 3 players within a team when you load into a match. One appears to be this kind of net runner type that I have featured in the bottom down here.
I hope they're solos.
Kind of has similar abilities to what we might see in Thief, hacking to open a door, steal items or intelligence. And behind them, we have this really bulky blue runner, which could be kind of like a tank class runner. And then we have another one that features that red kind of med pack looking thing. Down here at the bottom, I just have 4 images that kind of show some things I thought were interesting. Obviously,
look at this.
I just talked about
up here,
the
top left,
Marathon Automated Defense Drone, which
cool.
appears to be what that runner is standing on. If you played the original Marathon games, in the first one, that's one of the things you bring online on the Marathon, and they kind of help you defeat some of the 4. And later on, some of them even kind of turn against you. So it's kind of cool to see that some of those at least made their way down to the colony and were being utilized, assumedly for colony protection, but were probably destroyed when the four messed up the colony. Next to that, we have this image of the runner with kind of this techno fade in behind them. What I believe is being shown here is a runner cool. Teleporting. So in the world of Marathon, teleportation is a technology that has existed for many hundreds of years at the point that the new game is going to take place. Throughout the original game, that's how you get from level to level, is by utilizing teleportation. And Durandal even utilizes 4 technology to upgrade the teleportation and give it a longer range. So my assumption is that how we'll load in or extract from maps might be teleportation. Now, whether or not that'll require a jump pad or, an extraction zone, I would assume based off the game, the type of game that extraction are. But obviously within the game, the jump pads and teleporters in the original Marathon are something that kind of fade away after the first level or two, if I remember correctly. Although there are individual areas within maps that you can run into and act as kind of teleporters that you would see like in Halo. Next Netrunner 1, and then after that is this picture that we got of the concept art that kind of, I think, shows the abilities of active camo, or maybe this is like a super sprint that we kind of see iterated on in the stealth concept art that we'll get to later. But I just wanted to point out that as a concept seems to have been around for a significant period of time. So even, over a year and a half before we got the image of stealth, which appears to be using the same kind of transparent lower limbs and highlighted red and blue areas. All right, so the dev update. Obviously in the dev update, we got the 2 characters from the wonderful and kind Joe Ziegler, who was updating us on what we can expect from the game and where they're kind of at. And so let's go over the 2 new runners that we got to see. All right, so the first one that we got is Thief, and obviously it's a sick piece of concept art, kind of peering around the corner. It says new caloric agriculture. My assumption is that this might be some sort of
some kind of SMG they have
tech that they were utilizing on the colony, and maybe even this is kind of like draped across and allows kind of sunlight to come through and grow plants. So I would love to kind of fight through a futuristic greenhouse. So maybe that's where Thief's at. She also features that kind of tech visor that we saw in the concept art earlier that was allowing the one runner to kind of jack in and hack the door or whatever they were looking at. These are just a few things I wanted to point out, is that obviously Thief, we can assume that they're going to be able to steal items, whether that's from other players or locked locations in the map, we don't necessarily know. The tech visor, like I talked about earlier, the awesome kind of SNG, bullpup style, super compact weapon that she's carrying, and how that contrasts with the bulky kind of rounded armor that she has. I wonder kind of what the reasoning is behind the armor. I would assume if you're a Thief type character and they're kind of building all these characters around certain abilities and play styles, that a lot of the design choices that they're utilizing kind of plays into how the character operates. So I'm interested to see kind of maybe what is the lore purpose, or what is the actual reasoning behind this kind of rounded edge cool armor that we see. And then also another thing that I'm pointing out here that it appears in both of the new concept art images, and I'll show you later in some of the older concept art images, is these kind of cybernetic glowing eyes that I think are a really cool feature of the characters, and the coloring on them might also kind of give us a little heads up if we're in a match per se and we're running through like a darker area. If we see a flash of a runner and maybe we get to see the color of their eyes, maybe that would kind of indicate to us what types of abilities we might be up against when we encounter this character or this other player. And then the last thing I want to show you about Thief is that this is not the first time we've seen Thief. This is a picture of a concept art image from the Vidoc last year, which seems to feature the exact tattoos and kind of facial structure as what we're seeing with Thief here. So someone who's also made an appearance, albeit she is not rocking the sick nose ring in this new image, but I do love that as well and hope that's at least an option. All right, the next we got is Stealth. Stealth obviously featuring even cooler kind of cybernetic Terminator style eyes. And I've said this multiple times now, I feel like, between videos and streams, but I feel like this really captures that, the end of the original Blade Runner as he looking over on the top of the building down at the city, the Tears in the Rain monologue is given. And I feel like this is a very cool, creepy, old school style cyberpunk vibe that I really love. I also think it contrasts really well with the other runners. So I'm interested to see kind of how this facial structure populates lore wise, or what kind of biomata stealth is rocking. These are just a few of the things I wanted to point out. Obviously, the active camo falls in line with the stealth style abilities that we can assume are going to be associated with a character named Stealth. Cybernetic eyes are also something that are featured in a concept art image of a runner that I'll show you here shortly from last year. We also have this assault rifle or a small sniper rifle. I kind of like the idea of Stealth having this kind of compact sniper rifle, so they're very quick, but also have this kind of Widowmaker distance to them. The blue smoke, I think, also might be a separate ability that maybe they can kind of like, immediately kind of spread this smoke from their body. So kind of like a smoke grenade, but more active and kind of instantaneous to kind of obscure your view of them. And we also see this sidearm, which I think might be a version of the Zeus class fusion pistol that's been updated for the new game. It's just a guess, but I would love to see some of those old weapons come back.
Okay.
And here is the image, concept art image of a runner from the last game. I just think there's a few similarities here that you wouldn't really see on the first kind of glance if you're trying to compare the new images of the runners to some of the older stuff we got. So obviously the red glowing eyes and the purple lips. I feel like I'm getting a hint of purple, although obviously it's kind of grayed out and faded, and there's kind of this noise to the image that adds a cool effect. I think that this might be kind of the proto stealth, and then we're seeing kind of the Batman style outfit that they don when they kind of go on to do runs. But it is kind of cool to see that a lot of these characters have been kind of in development or potentially being worked on or iterated on for an extensive period of time, especially if people are worried that we're moving towards like a hero shooter thing that's different from their original kind of image of the game. It appears that a lot of these concepts that are showing us have kind of been baked into the core processes that they have been developing for a long time, and that kind of maybe should put people a little bit at ease. All right, the next thing I wanted to show is just kind of a few concept ideas of how these class types or heroes might work. Obviously, tank, DPS, and healer are kind of like very common standard class types in RPGs and games across the board. And then thief would be something that's kind of more specific to the individual games, the individual marathon game itself, and the mechanics that they're introducing unique to it. Obviously, there's some examples here of how I think they've kind of iterated on these concepts potentially. The healer kind of featuring that med pack and his little slimmer build so they can kind of move around more quickly and get to people on the battlefield. The thief having the kind of cybernetic wiring to connect to the old tech at the colony, which, just for a reminder, is, the marathon was built in 2400s. We're in the 2800s now, so that would be an even more extreme version of, like, imagine you went to a spaceship, that launched in the 1960s, and you have to get up there and kind of hack its systems. You would need equipment that would operate with these very old, archaic computing, implements. So it's kind of maybe why we're seeing some of this old style wiring and tech that is probably super outdated as to what humans have currently in the 2800s. The damage per second thing, I think just with the speed that we see in this kind of side image of the runner sprinting with the active camo, might indicate that kind of high damage per second situation with those runners that would allow them to lay the pain on enemies. And then obviously the tank image of this bulkier runner with like a ton of satchels, pouches, assumedly ammo, and on top of this big bulky automated defense drone that I'm assuming was probably a bitch to take down. All right, the next slide. Prepare yourselves. The hero shooter conversation is dumb. Listen, people are getting so worked up about the hero shooter thing, and even more so after seeing these images of these characters. Listen, guys, we don't know the mechanics of the game. We don't know how it's going to play. Yeah. Classes, heroes, it's all the same to me. They've talked about, being able to customize things. I'm sure it's going to be in there, but I'm excited for the experience that they're crafting. If that means that...
He brought up a good point. Heroes, classes, they're kind of the same thing, They have their own little quirks to them. You look at like Apex and you look at like something like Battlefield, pretty much the same concept. Like you have your healers, who can throw out heals. You can get a heal pack from or something. Then you have characters like a kind of like a more like DPS focus or scouts or something. Like they're kind of there are some differences, but they're pretty much the same. So, I don't see like, oh, hero shooter, whatever, or I don't see like a class based. I'm just like, okay, well, they're kind of the same. So either way they would have went about it, I'm still gonna like it or dislike it just the same. So I think that's whole thing. Like if you're a fan of like the class system, like this classes, and not the kind of like the hero part, like hero shooter or something like that, it's kind of maybe you can make an argument, but I'm gonna kind of look at you as like it's pretty much the same.
That the characters that we choose to play as are prefabricated, have some sort of similar characteristics that allow the game to operate smoother, or they have like backstories. Listen, I've loved every hero that they've shown. Every concept for an individual runner that is given a name seems awesome. White Rabbit is badass. Brill and Patch seem like a lovable duo in the background, even when they're kind of talked about in the Traxxas chat logs about how the runners are kind of pay for play mercenaries. All they care about is using the best biomata and getting credits, right? And Stealth and Thief seem like really cool characters. So I'm sure there's going to be a level of customization. Obviously, that's something that Bungie has baked into, I believe, like every game they made. I think about Halo multiplayer being able to customize your armor. That only got more advanced. Destiny obviously has a litany of customization options, which from my brief, time in Destiny, it seems like fashion is the end game. I'm not worried about customization. We don't know the mechanics of the game. So the idea of being kind of even against a hero mechanic or a concept that you have class-based systems tied to individuals with certain characteristics that are common to them,
I will say the only thing I have problems with like class based and heroes and stuff, especially like with heroes, um, a lot of the times, like I understand like it's for balance, we can't pick the same hero. Like I really want to play as this one hero because I really like them, but oh, this other person got it. It's, like this is only for like random matchmaking and stuff. Like if you're going in by yourself and it is team based, like one reason I brought this up before, I don't really play Apex because it doesn't have a solo mode, and maybe every once in a while I don't get to play as the person I want to. But I understand that's for balance, having two or three of the same character on one team can be overwhelming. I understand that. But that kind of sucks. That's why I prefer when games don't have a system like that, like a hero shooter. It's really with like the heroes shooter. Like when it's class systems, like look at Battlefield. They have a class system. Anybody can pick any class they want. You can have a full team of one class. You know, it's fine. Is it the best option? Probably not, but most of the time. But you still have that option. But in the majority of games that have heroes in them, you can only pick one. I think the only recent game, kind of recent, was BO4. Yeah, BO4 and 3, I think. Call of Duty is the only one that did it. You can pick any class, any hero basically you want.
I'm not against, and I love the lore and want to hear what these characters are all about. And I think we should just wait, and see until we have more information. A lot of
I
very
just hope
thoughtful comments have
I
been
just
left,
hope they
and I
have a
agree,
solo
and
mode.
I think that people are absolutely right. Just for example, on my last dev update video, I feel like Transcend Kyra, I forget how to pronounce her name, but she left a very thoughtful comment that I feel like summed it up exactly, and kind of just keeping our mind open to these ideas that we don't really know exactly how the game's going to flow. Let's not get too attached to any pre-idea that we have about it when we don't even know how it plays or operates, really. And let's just take it as it comes and know that every character that we've seen so far has seemed badass.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to end with this art was obviously shared on the Marathon story page. If you don't read the Marathon story page, I would consider
Hey, look at this
wealth of information. And Hamish uploads, a new thing every day. So definitely check it out. It's always something interesting. If you're looking for any scrape of Marathon news or someone talking about it, it's a good resource to kind of check out. But he shared a few links to the ArtStation.
This one looks like a lot of Destiny 2 stuff.
The dev update, and their stuff is amazing. If you want to get an idea of kind of the stuff that the people working on Marathon,
oh, this is Destiny 2 stuff,
have worked on before, and kind of some of their influences. Okay. I would totally recommend checking it out. It's a really fun
that is Marathon stuff
portfolio, and they're obviously super talented. So the links to all of their stuff will be included down below. That is all, guys. I hope that this video was fun. I know it's a slightly different format. My editing game is not super up to speed right now. I'm working with one arm. So until then, I'm going to try to find some creative ways to continue getting new videos out that kind of reference this new information that we have. Next week on Monday, or actually maybe this video will come out after that. I have a video with Aperture Grills. It's a podcast style thing. He is the world's greatest marathon speedrunner and an absolutely cool dude. So if you want to hear two dudes chat about marathon and video games for like 2 hours, definitely check it out. It's a fun time. And that is all. All right, guys. Thanks for everything.
Okay.
Love you. Bye.
I like the video. That was pretty good. But if you want to, leave him a like. Subscribe to him if you want. Only 9,000 subscribers. I'll give him and I'm going to share the video in the chat. So there you go. The video's in the chat. Yeah, I really don't have much to say this time. I'm not going to talk your head off, but leave me a like if you want to, subscribe to me, and ring that bell if you want to. And you don't have to like it or anything, but if you want to, you want to support me, do it. But with that said, like I always say, have a good day or night whenever you're watching this. Peace.